They towed my truck to humiliate me, but it triggered a state investigation. At 5:40 on the morning of my daughter's wedding, I heard tow trucks rolling through my ranch gate beside Mercer Lake. HOA President Vanessa Holloway stood in my driveway with a clipboard, smiling while they hooked chains to my work truck, the same truck carrying our wedding benches and supplies. She thought she was humiliating a rancher in front of his family. What she didn't know was I'd spent 6 weeks quietly working as the county's new infrastructure inspector. And the bridge leading into her luxury HOA sat on my family's land under an expired easement, so I didn't stop the tow. I let her drag the first piece of evidence right across that bridge. If you enjoy stories about ranch life, land fights, quiet people standing their ground, and HO bullies finally meeting the truth, stick around and subscribe. This one only gets crazier from here. I heard the air brakes before I saw the lights. That deep hydraulic hiss rolled across Mercer Lake at 5:40 in the morning, cutting through the quiet like a warning shot. I was standing barefoot in my kitchen pouring coffee when headlights swept across the cedar beams of the porch outside. 2 tow trucks, not county trucks, not sheriff units, Holloway Recovery. I set the mug down slowly and walked to the front window. Gravel crackled under heavy tires as the trucks pushed through my ranch gate without stopping. Their amber lights flashed against the lake below, turning the water orange for a second at a time. Then I saw Vanessa Holloway climb out of a white Range Rover behind them. White wool coat, clipboard in hand, perfect hair at sunrise, like she'd scheduled the whole damn morning for photographs. My ranch foreman, Logan, stepped out of the barn carrying a stack of folded table linens for the wedding reception. He stopped dead when he saw the trucks. "Ethan," he said quietly, "tell me those aren't here for your truck." I already knew they were. My Ford F-350 sat beside the workshop under the string lights. Sadie had hung 3 nights earlier. The truck bed carried 6 handmade cedar benches, flower stands, and the carved welcome sign we were supposed to place beside the lake before guests arrived. My daughter was getting married in 5 hours. Vanessa Holloway walked across my gravel driveway like she owned every inch of Mercer County. "Morning, Mr. Mercer," she called. "Unfortunately, this commercial vehicle is in violation of Silver Pines residential compliance standards." I stared at her for a long moment. "You crossed a locked ranch gate to say that." Her smile tightened but didn't disappear. "The north access lane falls under shared use infrastructure guidelines approved by the HOA board." That was the kind of sentence Vanessa loved. Long enough to sound official, vague enough to hide the lie underneath it. One of the tow operators stepped toward my truck carrying chains. Logan moved beside me instantly. Big man, former rodeo rider, scar across his jaw from a horse kick 15 years ago. "Boss," he muttered, "say the word." I could feel the heat rising in my chest already. Not because of the truck, because Sadie was inside the ranch house, upstairs, believing today would be peaceful. Because Claire had spent 6 months planning this wedding by the lake. Because Vanessa Holloway knew exactly what morning she picked for this stunt. Vanessa flipped a page on her clipboard. Altide commercial equipment. Improper trailer classification. Event traffic violation risk. She looked up at me over the paper. Per HOA Enforcement Authority, the vehicle will be impounded pending compliance review. I almost laughed. HOA Enforcement Authority. On Mercer land. The tow operator bent down beside my front axle. The metal hook clanged against the frame. And that's when Logan finally snapped. "You got some damn nerve showing up here today," he barked. Vanessa didn't even look at him. "I'm speaking with the property owner." "No," Logan shot back, stepping forward. "You're ruining his daughter's wedding because you think this valley belongs to your little country club." The second tow driver shifted uncomfortably. Even he looked embarrassed, standing there beside wedding benches and flower crates. Vanessa pointed at the truck. Hook it up. The chains tightened. I watched the hydraulic lift raise the front wheels of my F-350 off the gravel. Slowly, deliberately. Humiliation has a sound. Steel tightening around something you built with your own hands. The lake breeze carried the smell of pine and cold water through the driveway, while my daughter's wedding truck got dragged toward the road like stolen property. Logan looked at me again. Ethan, stop this. But I wasn't looking at Vanessa anymore. I was looking past the trucks toward the North Ridge, where the steel bridge crossed Mercer Creek into Silver Pines Estates. Old County Bridge, old Mercer land. And suddenly, all I could think about was a faded easement file sitting in my desk drawer inside the house. 6 weeks earlier, I'd accepted an appointment with the county as a rural infrastructure compliance inspector. Quiet position. Mostly bridge inspections, drainage violations, easement reviews across 3 counties. Most people around here didn't know yet. Vanessa Holloway definitely didn't. The tow operators secured the final chain. Vanessa signed something on her clipboard and smiled like she'd won. That smile told me everything. She thought this morning was the end of something. It wasn't. It was the beginning. I turned toward Logan calmly. Take the ranch trailers through the lower pasture, I said. Move the guests across the Northfield Road. Use the old boat path if you have to. Logan stared at me. You're letting them take it. I looked back at the tow truck. Yes. Vanessa blinked once, surprised. I walked toward the lead tow operator. He looked nervous now, eyes moving between me and the wedding supplies strapped in the truck bed. I held out my hand. My name's Ethan Mercer. The man hesitated, then shook it. Ray Dobson. Ray, I said evenly, I want you to remember something about this morning. You were ordered onto private ranch property by the president of Silver Pines Estates. You hooked a non-commercial vehicle carrying private wedding equipment from land outside HOA jurisdiction. Vanessa's expression hardened immediately. Mr. Mercer, do not interfere with contracted enforcement operations. I ignored her. Ray, I continued, you should keep copies of your dispatch logs. The man swallowed hard. Behind me, I heard the ranch house door open upstairs. Sadie was awake. I glanced toward the porch window and saw her silhouette standing frozen behind the curtain, watching her wedding truck disappear. Vanessa followed my eyes toward the house. For the first time that morning, something almost human crossed her face. Then it vanished. The tow trucks rolled backward toward the ranch gate with my Ford hanging behind them. Gravel popped under the tires. The cedar benches rattled softly in the truck bed as they disappeared down the long lake road toward Silver Pines. Logan stood beside me in silence. Finally, he asked the question I knew was coming. Ethan, why the hell did you let her do that? I watched the trucks cross the steel bridge over Mercer Creek. Then I answered quietly, because she just towed evidence across a bridge she doesn't legally own. Logan stared at me while the tow trucks disappeared through the pines towards Silver Pines Estates. For a second, the only sound left in the driveway was the chain on the ranch gate swaying in the morning wind. Then Sadie opened the front door. She was wearing sweatpants, barefoot, her hair still pinned from the rehearsal dinner the night before. Her eyes moved from me to the empty driveway where the truck had been sitting 10 minutes earlier. They took it? Claire stepped out behind her, carrying 2 coffee mugs. She looked toward the road, once then back at me. Calm, controlled. That was Claire Mercer. Even when everything around her cracked apart, she spoke like somebody keeping glass from shattering. Tell me we still have a wedding today. We do, I said. Logan rubbed a hand over his jaw. I can get benches from the South Equipment Barn. We'll need extra trailers. Use the old boat path, I told him. Keep everyone off the main road. Sadie frowned immediately. Why? Because the main road crossed Mercer Bridge. And Mercer Bridge had just become the most valuable piece of land in the county. I motioned everybody inside. The kitchen smelled like fresh coffee, cedar stain, and the flower arrangements Claire finished at midnight. Wedding schedules covered half the table. Seating charts, vendor receipts, place cards tied with twine, normal things. Things Vanessa Holloway had tried to crush under a tow truck before sunrise. I opened the desk drawer beside the refrigerator and pulled out a weathered county file wrapped in a rubber band. Logan leaned closer. "That the bridge paperwork?" I nodded. 6 weeks earlier, when the county hired me as a rural infrastructure compliance inspector, I'd spent my first month reviewing old easements, emergency access routes, and abandoned maintenance agreements across Mercer County. Most of it was routine. Then I found the Mercer Bridge file, or more accurately, Miriam Cole found me, retired school librarian, widow, lived alone in a cedar-sided house near the entrance to Silver Pines, sharp eyes, sharper memory. She walked into my office one afternoon carrying 3 banker boxes full of HOA notices and county records. "You're a Mercer boy," she'd said, "which means somebody should finally show you what they've been doing to your family's bridge." Inside the file sat the original county easement agreement from 1987. 40-year limited-use access across Mercer land for agricultural and emergency travel only, not permanent public ownership, not HOA control, and definitely not commercial development access. The expiration renewal had never been filed. 4 years earlier, the agreement quietly died. Nobody in Silver Pines knew. Or maybe Vanessa did know. That possibility bothered me more. Sadie pulled out a chair slowly. "Dad, are you saying the HOA road is illegal?" "Not the road," I answered. "The access rights." Claire looked down at the documents spread across the table. "And they've been collecting fees on it? Road maintenance fees, emergency infrastructure fees, property access assessments." Logan let out a low whistle. Jesus. I flipped open another page. Ty Holloway's contracting company had billed Silver Pines nearly $400,000 over 2 years for bridge preservation work. The county records showed exactly 0 approved permits. No engineering review, no ownership transfer, nothing. Which meant Ty Holloway had been charging people to maintain infrastructure sitting on land his wife had no authority to touch. Sadie leaned against the counter, arms folded tight now. "So this morning wasn't about the truck?" "No," I said. "It was about pressure." Claire studied me carefully. "You think Vanessa knows you found the easement file?" "I think she knows something's wrong." I looked toward the lake through the kitchen window. People like Vanessa don't escalate unless they're protecting something. Logan's phone buzzed. He checked the screen and frowned immediately. "Boss." He turned the phone toward me. A new post had just appeared on the Silver Pines HOA community page. "Compliance action taken this morning against unauthorized commercial vehicle on Mercer property. HOA board will continue protecting community standards." Underneath it sat a photo of my truck on the tow flatbed, wedding benches visible in the back. Claire's jaw tightened. Sadie looked sick. "They posted that publicly? They want the whole valley to see it," Logan muttered. But I was already focused on something else, the photo. Specifically what sat behind the truck in the background. The bridge. Orange County ownership marker clearly visible beside the steel guardrail. Except that marker shouldn't have been there anymore. Not after the easement expired. Which meant one thing. Ty Holloway had never updated the county records because doing that would force a full ownership review. And a full ownership review would expose everything. I stood up so fast the chair scraped hard across the floor. Claire looked at me immediately. "What?" I grabbed my truck keys automatically before remembering Vanessa already had the truck. Then I grabbed the county file instead. "Logan," I said, "get the backup benches moving now. Where are you going?" "To the bridge." Sadie stepped toward me. "Dad, the wedding." I stopped beside her. "Your daughter only gets married once. Your family only loses land once too." I kissed her forehead gently. "The wedding happens today," I told her. "But before your guests cross that bridge again, I need to know exactly what Vanessa Holloway thinks she owns. Outside, another vehicle turned onto the ranch road from the direction of Silver Pines. Dark SUV, HOA security markings on the door. And this time, they weren't alone. Behind them came a county utility truck, pulling orange construction barriers. Logan stepped onto the porch beside me, eyes narrowing immediately. The hell are they doing now? The black HOA security SUV rolled to a stop outside the ranch gate. A skinny man in a neon vest climbed out carrying a clipboard, while two workers began unloading barriers from the county trailer. Not county employees, private contractors. The magnetic county decals on the truck doors looked freshly slapped on. One of the workers started dragging barriers toward the north road leading to Mercer Bridge. I walked down the porch steps before anybody could stop me. The gravel crunched hard under my boots while the security guard hurried forward like he'd rehearsed this moment. "Mr. Mercer," he said quickly. "Temporary traffic control order from Silver Pines Estates Infrastructure Committee." I held out my hand. "Show me." The man passed over a single printed sheet. No county seal, no permit number, no transportation signature. Just Vanessa Holloway's name, typed across the bottom, above Community Safety Authorization. I almost admired the arrogance. They weren't even trying to hide it anymore. "You planning to close my access road on my daughter's wedding day?" I asked. The security guard swallowed. "Mom said, the event created unauthorized congestion risks near HOA property." Behind me, Claire appeared on the porch with Sadie beside her. Wedding makeup half finished, silk robe pulled tight around her shoulders. Sadie looked from the barriers to me. "Dad," I handed the paper back. "You touch that bridge and I'll have the sheriff here before breakfast." The worker froze with the barrier halfway off the trailer. The security guard tried to recover his confidence. "Sir, this is approved infrastructure action." "No," I said calmly. "This is criminal impersonation of county authority using fake traffic control equipment." That landed hard. The workers exchanged looks immediately. Logan stepped down beside me, carrying bolt cutters in one hand and a thermos in the other, like he honestly didn't care which one got used first. "You boys got 10 seconds to turn that trailer around." Nobody moved. Then another truck engine echoed up the road from the lower pasture. Old diesel, county diesel. Sheriff Dale Turner's Bronco rolled through the gate and stopped sideways behind the HOA SUV. Dale climbed out slow, hat low over his eyes, one hand resting on the door frame. He looked at the barriers, then at the fake county decals, then at me. "Morning, Ethan." "Morning, Dale." The security guard straightened immediately. "Sheriff, we're conducting approved traffic safety operations for Silver Pines Estates." Dale walked over to the truck without answering him. He scraped one fingernail across the county decal. The sticker peeled halfway off the door. Dale looked back at the workers. "Who told you idiots this was legal?" Nobody answered. One of the contractors quietly dropped his end of the barrier back onto the trailer. The sheriff turned toward the security guard. "You got a county permit number?" "No, sir, but the HOA." "I didn't ask about the HOA." Silence. Dale nodded once toward the road. "Get this junk off Mercer land before I impound every vehicle sitting here." The workers moved fast after that, real fast. Within 60 seconds, the barriers were back on the trailer. The security SUV reversed first, tires spinning in the gravel. Dale watched them leave without expression. Then he looked at me. "You got bigger problems coming," I figured. "Vanessa's making calls all over the county this morning, claiming you're interfering with lawful OA operations." I folded the easement file tighter under my arm. "She mentioned the bridge?" His eyes dropped briefly to the folder. "No," he said carefully. "But she's nervous." That mattered. People like Vanessa Holloway only panicked when they thought control was slipping. Dale lowered his voice. "Ty Holloway filed emergency paperwork with county planning late yesterday afternoon." "For what?" "Temporary authority request over Mercer Bridge for public access preservation." Claire walked closer from the porch. Can they do that? Not legally, I answered. But the fact they tried meant something worse. They knew the easement problem existed. Dale studied me another second. You still planning to go through with the wedding? I looked back toward the lake. Ranch hands were already hauling replacement benches through the lower pasture on flatbed trailers. Dust drifted behind them in long gold lines through the pine trees. Logan had 3 men stringing lantern cables between cedar posts near the shoreline, and Sadie stood quietly on the porch, trying not to cry where anybody could see her. Yeah, I said finally. We're having the wedding. Dale nodded once. Then have it fast. That sentence sat wrong in my stomach immediately. Why? The sheriff rested both hands on his belt. Because if Vanessa and Ty are pushing fake permits before sunrise, he glanced toward the road disappearing toward Silver Pines. They're probably hiding something bigger by sundown. The Bronco drove off 10 minutes later. By then, the ranch had shifted into controlled chaos. Florists rerouted deliveries through the South Trail. Logan moved parking signs away from the bridge road. Claire coordinated vendors from the porch, while Sadie disappeared upstairs with her bridesmaids. I walked alone down toward Mercer Bridge. The steel structure cut across the creek between steep banks of dark rock and pine roots. My grandfather helped pour the concrete anchors in 1972, before the county expanded the road north. The bridge belonged to Mercer land, always had. I stopped beside the rusted county marker near the entrance. Then I noticed something new. Fresh scrape marks around the bolts. I crouched lower. Somebody had tried removing the marker recently. A pickup engine growled somewhere behind me. I turned. Ty Holloway's black contractor truck sat parked 50 yards up the road, watching me. He lowered the driver window slowly. Beautiful morning for a wedding, he called. I stood without answering. Ty smiled. You ought to stay focused on family today, Ethan. He tapped one finger against the steering wheel. Land disputes can get real expensive real fast. Then he drove away toward Silver Pines. But before the truck disappeared around the curve, I caught something in the bed. Orange County survey stakes. Fresh dirt still clinging to them. Ty Holloway's truck disappeared around the bend toward Silver Pines before I could get another look, but I already knew what I'd seen. County markers, removed from Mercer land, that crossed a line even Vanessa usually danced around, instead of stepping over. I took 3 photos of the scrape marks beside the bridge entrance with my phone, then photographed the exposed bolt holes where the survey marker had stood for nearly 20 years. By the time I walked back toward the ranch house, the wedding had shifted into motion whether the Holloways liked it or not. Pickup trucks lined the lower pasture road. Guests crossed the lake trail carrying folding chairs while Logan barked directions beside the equipment barn. Somebody had dragged old whiskey barrels down to the shoreline to replace missing decorations from the tow truck. Controlled recovery. That's what ranch people do. We rebuild fast because weather, drought, and bad neighbors don't wait politely. Claire met me halfway across the yard. You look like you found something. I did. I showed her the photos. Her expression hardened immediately. They're removing county markers? Looks like it. For what? To redraw the story before the county sees the real map. Claire exhaled slowly. Ethan, this isn't about fines anymore. No, I agreed. It's about ownership. Before she could answer, another vehicle rolled through the ranch gate. Old green Subaru. Miriam Cole. The retired librarian parked beside the barn and climbed out carrying a weathered leather binder thick enough to stop a door. She walked straight toward me without wasting a second. I figured you'd need this today. The binder hit the outdoor table with a heavy thud. Dust rose off the cover. Log notes, Silver Pines compliance actions, handwritten in black marker. Logan walked over, wiping grease off his hands. What's all this? Miriam opened the binder carefully. 3 years of HOA violations, tow receipts, photographs, letters, Vehicle, impound notices. Every page tagged with dates and names. The first photo showed an elderly couple standing beside an empty driveway, while a Holloway recovery truck pulled away with their sedan. The Benfords, Miriam said quietly. Vanessa had their car towed while they were at a funeral because the registration sticker sat 2 days past renewal. Another page. A landscaping trailer. Violation notice. $2,000 in towing and storage fees. Then another. And another. Every document tied back to Holloway Recovery, or one of Ty Holloway's road contracts. What am I looking at? Logan asked. Organized extortion, I answered. Miriam gave one small nod. She started with parking rules, she said, then commercial vehicles, then road access violations. Every year she added something new. Claire flipped through another section. She charged people maintenance fees for Mercer Bridge. Every household in Silver Pines, Miriam replied. Mandatory infrastructure preservation assessments. I stopped on a page near the back. County Engineering Memorandum. Stamped 4 years earlier. Subject. Mercer Bridge, easement expiration review. My pulse slowed immediately. That happens sometimes when anger gets sharp enough to become useful. I read every line carefully. The county had formally warned Silver Pines Estates that the original bridge easement would expire unless renewed through court filing and landowner approval. No renewal had ever happened, but somebody signed acknowledgement of receipt. Vanessa Holloway. I looked up slowly. She knew. Miriam folded her hands together. Yes, that landed harder than I expected. Because until that moment, part of me still believed Vanessa might just be reckless, entitled, power drunk. But this was calculated. She knowingly collected fees on access rights that legally no longer existed. Logan leaned over my shoulder. Jesus Christ. Miriam turned another page. Keep going. The next section held invoices from Ty Holloway Construction. Bridge reinforcement consultation. Emergency structural maintenance. Road preservation compliance. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. I checked the permit numbers beside the invoices. Fake. Not missing. Not expired. Fake. Claire looked toward the lake where wedding guests had begun gathering beneath the pine trees. They've been building this scam for years. And expanding it, I said. Buried in the final section sat conceptual drawings for something called Mercer Lake Village Marina Expansion Project. Luxury docks, private boat club, additional lakefront housing. Estimated value, $42 million. The entire development connected through Mercer Bridge, a bridge they didn't legally control anymore. Suddenly the towing made perfect sense. The pressure campaigns, the fines, the fake county barriers. They weren't trying to protect HOA standards. They were trying to silence the one landowner capable of collapsing their expansion project. Miriam watched my face carefully. I think Ty realized you found the easement problem. When? About 2 weeks ago. I saw him leaving county records with copies of bridge surveys. Claire crossed her arms tightly now, so they escalated before Ethan could file anything official. Exactly. Logan looked toward the road leading north. Then why tow the truck today? I closed the binder slowly. Because today was supposed to humiliate us. But humiliation works differently on people who understand leverage. A wedding truck can become evidence. A fake permit can become fraud. And a bridge can become a weapon if the deed underneath it still belongs to your family. Music drifted faintly from the lake as guests began taking seats beside the shoreline. Sadie's wedding was starting in less than an hour. I looked down again at the engineering memo with Vanessa Holloway's signature acknowledging the expired easement notice. That single page could destroy everything she built. Claire touched my arm. Put it away for now. I looked at her. The wedding. Right. The wedding. For 1 second, I'd almost forgotten. I closed the binder and carried it toward the ranch house. But before I reached the porch, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number, I answered. This is Ethan Mercer. Silence for a moment. Then a man's voice. low, nervous. "Mr. Mercer, my name's Ray Dobson, the tow truck driver. I think you need to know," he said carefully. "Your truck never made it to the Holloway impound lot." I stopped walking. "What?" There was another stop first. I walked farther away from the wedding guests before answering. "Where?" Ray lowered his voice immediately. "Old maintenance yard off County Route 16. Ty Holloway met us there himself." Every muscle in my neck tightened. "What happened to my truck?" "Nothing damaged," Ray said quickly. "But Ty removed something from the cab before we took it to the impound lot." Behind me, wedding music drifted softly across the lake while guests found their seats beneath the pines. Two worlds existing at the same time, my daughter's wedding and whatever dirty operation the Holloways were scrambling to protect. "What did he take?" I asked. I couldn't see exactly. Folder maybe. Tube case, something long. Bridge surveys, county maps, or worse. Ray exhaled sharply into the phone. "Mr. Mercer, I shouldn't even be calling you. You're calling because you know this isn't legal." Silence confirmed it. Then he spoke again. Ty looked nervous, real nervous. He kept asking whether anybody from the county had contacted you yet. That answered another question. The Holloways knew county attention was coming. They just didn't know how close it already was. "Ray," I said, "did Ty say anything else?" "He told Vanessa on speakerphone that he'd handled the bridge problem." Those were his exact words. I stared toward Mercer Bridge in the distance. "Handled the bridge problem. Not the truck, the bridge. Listen carefully," I said. "Do not delete your dispatch records. Do not alter your route logs. And if anybody asks you to change paperwork, call me first." "You think this gets criminal?" "I think it already is." I ended the call and stood still for 3 seconds. Then I turned back toward the wedding. Because Claire was right. Vanessa Holloway didn't get to steal this day too. By 11 o'clock, the ceremony began beside Mercer Lake exactly the way Sadie wanted. Not perfect, but real. Lanterns swayed from cedar poles Logan hammered into the shoreline before sunrise. The replacement benches sat uneven in the grass because ranch hands built half of them from scrap lumber and old fence planks 2 hours earlier. Nobody cared. The guests actually seemed calmer because of it. More honest. More Montana. Sadie walked down the aisle slowly beside her grandfather, while sunlight reflected off the lake behind them. His left leg still dragged slightly from surgery, but he refused to use the cane. Halfway down the aisle, he squeezed Sadie's arm and whispered something that made her laugh through tears. Claire reached for my hand beside the front row. "You're somewhere else right now," she murmured. "I know. Come back for 10 minutes." I looked at my daughter standing beneath the temporary cedar arch Logan built overnight. Then I forced myself to do exactly what Claire asked. For 10 minutes, I stopped thinking about Vanessa Holloway. For 10 minutes, there was only family, only vows, only the sound of water touching the shoreline, while Sadie promised to build a life with somebody she loved. Then the ceremony ended. Applause rolled across the lake. Music started, and Logan appeared beside me carrying a phone. "Sorry, boss. I already knew it wouldn't be good news." Sheriff Dale Turner's voice came through immediately. "Ethan, where are you?" "At the reception. You need to leave for an hour." That got my full attention. Why? Because I just ran Ty Holloway's emergency filing request through county records. Papers shuffled loudly on his end, and somebody attached forged survey revisions to the application. My jaw tightened immediately. What kind of revisions? Revised property boundaries placing Mercer Bridge partially inside Silver Pines common use land. That was impossible, unless somebody altered county maps directly. I walked farther from the reception tables while guests laughed behind me under the lantern strings. "Who approved the filing?" "No one," Dale answered. "It triggered an automatic hold because the parcel numbers conflict with archived county deeds." "Good, very good, because failed filings leave trails." "Where are the documents now?" I asked. "County Planning Office in Billings. I'm coming." Dale lowered his voice. Ethan, there's something else. I waited. The signature authorizing the revised survey belongs to a county inspector named Walter Grinnell. I stopped walking completely. Walter Grinnell retired 11 months earlier and died 3 months ago. Now we had forged land documents using a dead county official's credentials. Not civil fraud anymore, felony territory. I looked back toward the wedding reception. Sadie danced with her grandfather near the lake while Claire watched from beneath the lanterns. One normal moment. That's all I wanted for them. Instead, Vanessa Holloway had dragged county corruption onto my ranch. Logan appeared beside me again. How bad? Bad enough that Dale wants me in Billings immediately. You leaving? I looked toward Claire. She already knew the answer by my face. No, she said quietly before I could speak. You're going, Claire. Ethan, if they're forging county land records, this stopped being about us yesterday. That was why I loved her. Claire Mercer understood pressure better than most men I'd served beside overseas. I kissed her forehead. I'll be back before dark. You better be, she replied. Sadie still expects a father-daughter dance. 40 minutes later, I pulled into the county administrative building in Billings. The parking lot was mostly empty except for Sheriff Turner's Bronco and a dark state transportation SUV I didn't recognize. Dale met me at the entrance, carrying a thick document envelope. You're not gonna like this. Inside the conference room sat 2 people. A woman in a navy blazer reviewing maps spread across the table, and a gray-haired attorney flipping through county deed records. Dale shut the door behind me. Ethan Mercer, he said. Meet State Transportation Investigator Elise Navarro and Infrastructure Attorney Nolan Pierce. Nolan looked up first. We've been waiting on the bridge owner. That sentence landed heavier than he probably intended. Because, until this morning, Mercer Bridge had just been family land. Now it was evidence. Elise slid a forged survey map across the table toward me. Red lines cut directly through Mercer property boundaries. Fake easement notations. Altered county seals. And at the bottom, Walter Grinnell's forged signature. Elise tapped the page once. Mr. Mercer, she said calmly. Somebody is trying to steal your bridge before the county notices it's already theirs illegally. The conference room went quiet, except for the hum of fluorescent lights overhead. I picked up the forged survey slowly. The redrawn boundary lines were good, too good for amateurs. Whoever altered the map understood county infrastructure filings, parcel overlays, and emergency access language. Ty Holloway hadn't made this himself. He'd paid somebody. Nolan Pierce slid another folder across the table. We traced the filing path, he said. Submitted through a private infrastructure consultant out of Bozeman. Same consultant tied to 3 luxury developments currently under state review. I looked up. Silver Pines isn't the only HOA pulling this? No, Elise answered. But yours may be the cleanest fraud trail we've seen. Sheriff Turner leaned against the wall with his arms folded. They got greedy. That was the truth of it. Most scams stay small because smart criminals understand limits. But Vanessa Holloway built Silver Pines, like she expected the entire valley to kneel eventually. Luxury marina, expanded lake access, private dock permits, road authority, and all of it depended on Mercer Bridge remaining unquestioned long enough for investors to pour money into the project. I looked back at the forged signature. Walter Grinnell, dead 11 months. Who verified this filing? I asked. Elise opened a tablet and rotated it toward me. County intake clerk flagged it immediately because Grinnell's certification expired after his death notice. She zoomed into a timestamp. But here's the interesting part. 3 additional uploads followed the rejected filing within 47 minutes. Emergency access maps, commercial traffic amendments, proposed county utility partnership. Every document tied Mercer Bridge directly into future development plans around Mercer Lake. Nolan exhaled slowly. They weren't just trying to cover the easement problem. They were trying to convert your bridge into public infrastructure before anyone challenged ownership. That changed everything, because public infrastructure disputes move slower. Messier. Once county access rights become entangled with private development money, cases can drag for years. Ty and Vanessa weren't protecting themselves anymore. They were racing the clock. My phone buzzed. "Claire," I answered immediately. "How's Sadie?" "She's dancing," Claire said softly. Music drifted faintly through the call. "But we just got another delivery." That pulled my attention instantly. "What kind of delivery?" "A compliance notice, of course." Vanessa Holloway never stopped pushing unless somebody physically forced her to. Claire's voice hardened. She taped it to the wedding gift table. Rage hit me so fast it almost blurred my vision. Not because of the fine, because Vanessa walked into my daughter's wedding reception to do it. "What's the violation?" I asked. Claire unfolded the paper near the phone. "Excessive vehicle congestion. Unauthorized agricultural event activity. Noise disturbance after permitted hours." Nolan shook his head slowly from across the table. "She's creating paper trails." He was right. Vanessa knew legal review was coming. So she was flooding county records with retaliatory complaints designed to paint me as the aggressor first. Classic strategy. Create confusion before investigators organize the timeline. "Claire," I said carefully, "did anybody see who delivered it?" "Logan did. That helped. Logan noticed everything. And Ethan." Claire paused briefly. "Ty Holloway drove past the ranch twice during the reception, doing surveillance, or intimidation, or both." "I'll be home soon," I told her. But Elise spoke before I could hang up. "Actually, Mr. Mercer, you may want to stay another hour." Claire heard that immediately. "What's happening?" I looked toward Elise. She answered for me. "Mrs. Mercer, we just confirmed somebody attempted unauthorized modifications to county boundary records connected to your family property." Silence. Then Claire spoke calmly. "What do you need from Ethan?" "Access to original Mercer land deeds," Nolan said. "Especially bridge surveys and water right filings." Claire didn't hesitate. "They're in the ranch office safe." That surprised Nolan. "You know the combination?" "I married a rancher," she replied. "Of course I know the combination." Even Elise smiled slightly at that. Claire gave me one last update before hanging up. Miriam Cole just arrived at the reception. I frowned immediately. "At night?" "She says she found something else." That changed my plans. Fast. 45 minutes later, I pulled back onto Mercer land, under a dark Montana sky lit by lanterns beside the lake. The wedding reception had shifted into that late evening softness, where people stop worrying about schedules and just exist together. For 1 second, I almost forgot about the county office. Then I saw Miriam waiting on the ranch porch holding another box. Not a binder this time. Bank records, invoices, photographs. Logan stood beside her looking furious. "What happened?" I asked. Logan handed me a printed photograph. Ty Holloway. Marina conference room. Meeting with investors. Projected image behind him labeled Mercer Lake Expansion Access Plan. The rendering showed Mercer Bridge redesigned with stone entrance walls and gated traffic lanes, feeding directly into a luxury marina district. My family bridge, my family land, sold to investors like it already belonged to them. Miriam opened the box carefully. "I found these in my late husband's storage cabinet. Inside sat copies of old HOA financial reports. Buried between landscaping budgets and maintenance invoices was a consulting payment ledger. Quarterly transfers, consulting fee, Holloway Infrastructure Solutions, bridge access preservation compensation." I flipped another page. Investor disbursement schedules, projected marina profits, private lot expansions. Then the final page stopped me cold. Signature authorization, Vanessa Holloway. And beneath her signature sat a handwritten note. "Secure bridge ownership before county audit finalizes." Logan looked at me. "They knew about your county job." "No," I said quietly. "They knew about the audit. That was worse. Because county audits leave permanent records, and permanent records destroy people like Vanessa Holloway when the paperwork finally catches up. Miriam closed the box carefully. You need to move fast now. I nodded slowly, because she was right. The Holloways weren't panicking anymore. They were cornered, and cornered people start destroying evidence. Right on cue, headlights appeared at the far end of the ranch road. Black contractor truck. Ty Holloway again. But this time he wasn't alone. Behind him rolled a flatbed carrying excavation equipment toward Mercer Bridge. Logan moved first, stepping off the porch with his phone already recording. I followed him down the gravel drive while the reception music faded behind us. Ty's headlights cut across the pasture, throwing long shadows against the fence posts. The flatbed stopped 30 yards from the bridge entrance, and a yellow mini excavator rocked on its chains. Ty climbed out wearing a Holloway infrastructure jacket. He looked too calm for a man moving equipment onto private land at night. "Ethan," he called. "We're conducting emergency stabilization work." I stopped at the cattle guard. "No, you're not." He lifted a folded document, Temporary Preservation Authority, filed with county planning. "Rejected by county planning," I said. That wiped a little confidence off his face. "Not all of it. You don't know that. I was in the room when they flagged your forged survey." The excavator driver froze with one hand on the trailer chain. Ty's jaw tightened. "Behind me," Logan muttered. "Got that on video." Ty looked at him, then at me. "You're making a mistake." "No," I said. "You made it when you brought equipment to my bridge." He stepped closer, voice lower now. "You think some old deed paper saves you? Investors don't care about your grandfather's stories. They care about access, approvals, and money already spent." There it was. The truth under the polish. I kept my voice even. "Turn the truck around." Ty smiled, but it came out crooked. "Or what?" A sheriff's siren chirped once behind him. Not loud, just enough. Dale Turner's Bronco rolled out from the dark shoulder where he'd been parked without lights. He stepped out with a flashlight and swept it across the flatbed, the excavator, and the fake work order in Ty's hand. "Evening, Ty." Ty went pale around the mouth. "Sheriff, we're only securing public infrastructure." Dale walked close and took the paper from his hand. "This document has no permit number, no county seal, and references a survey rejected 6 hours ago." He folded it once. "That makes it useful evidence, not authority." The excavator driver climbed down from the trailer immediately. "I'm not part of this, smart man." Dale pointed toward the road. "Take your rig off Mercer land. Leave the paperwork." The driver looked at Ty. Ty didn't move. Dale's voice dropped. "Now." The driver started the flatbed and eased it backward toward Silver Pines, leaving Ty standing in the dust with nothing but his jacket and a dead piece of paper. Ty leaned toward me as the truck rolled away. "You're going to regret this." "No," I said. "You are." Dale waited until Ty got back in his truck and drove off before speaking. That was enough for probable cause on attempted unauthorized work. "Good. Better than good." Dale turned toward Logan. "You recorded the conversation?" "Every word." Dale nodded. "Send it to Elise." By midnight, the wedding was over. Sadie hugged me hard before she left with her husband. "You missed the bouquet toss," she whispered. "I'm sorry." "No, you're not." She pulled back and gave me Claire's same steady look. But I know why. That hurt worse than anger. After the last guest left, Claire and I sat at the kitchen table with Miriam's binder, Nolan's notes, and Logan's video uploaded to a secure county link. At 12:38 a.m., Elise Navarro called. "We have the recording from Logan," she said, "and we have something else." "What?" "Audio from the marina office." I sat upright. "How?" Investor meeting room had internal security recording. One of the investors turned it over after Nolan contacted their attorney. She played 30 seconds over a speaker. Ty Holloway's voice came through clearly. "The Mercer Bridge issue is temporary. We have paperwork in process. Once the county accepts revised access boundaries, the marina expansion moves forward. Then Vanessa's voice, cold, precise. Ethan Mercer is emotionally compromised this week. Wedding pressure gives us leverage. Get the truck off his property, force him into a compliance hearing, and keep him occupied until the filing clears. Claire's face went still. Then another voice asked, "What if Mercer challenges the easement?" Vanessa answered without hesitation. "Then we bury him in violations until he can't afford to fight." The recording ended. Nobody spoke. Not me, not Claire, not Logan. Miriam finally closed her eyes. She said it out loud. Elise came back on the line. "Yes." And she said it in front of investors tied to a $42 million development proposal. Nolan's voice joined from another line that connects HOA enforcement, towing, false filings, and investor financing into one chain. I looked at the wedding place cards, still scattered across the table. Sadie's name, her husband's name. Little pieces of a day Vanessa thought she could use as leverage. "What happens now?" Claire asked. Elise answered. "Now, we stop watching quietly." By Monday morning, state transportation investigators had subpoenaed Holloway Infrastructure's cloud records. Nolan filed preservation notices against Silver Pines Estates, Holloway Recovery, and the Marina Development Group. Dale secured the original bridge entrance as a potential evidence site. Then Ray Dobson delivered the missing piece. He arrived at my ranch just after lunch with my Ford F-350, following behind a different tow truck. The wedding supplies were still in the bed, untouched except for the dust. Ray handed me a thumb drive, dash cam. "Full route from your driveway to Ty's maintenance yard." I took it carefully. "And?" Ray swallowed. "It shows Ty removing a survey tube from your cab." The survey tube. My duplicate bridge plats. The ones I kept under the back seat because I didn't trust county archives alone. Ray looked ashamed. "I should have stopped him." "You did better," I said. "You documented him." That afternoon, Elise called again. Her voice sounded different this time, sharper. "We recovered backups from Holloway's server. And kickbacks, towing fees, fake road assessments, marina investor statements. All tied to Vanessa and Ty." "How much?" "Enough that they're not fighting for power anymore, Ethan." I looked out the window toward Mercer Bridge. "Then what are they fighting for?" Elise paused. "Survival." The line went quiet after that, not because there was nothing left to say, because everybody involved finally understood how large the collapse was going to be. By Tuesday morning, Silver Pines Estates looked different. Quieter, not peaceful. Nervous. The kind of silence people carry when rumors start spreading faster than official explanations. 2 HOA board members resigned before noon. One marina investor publicly withdrew funding after Nolan Pierce filed notice of pending infrastructure litigation against the development project. By afternoon, county transportation crews had placed temporary inspection signs near Mercer Bridge. Structural access review pending. That sign hit Silver Pines harder than any lawsuit because people can ignore legal paperwork. But they panic when roads might close. I stood beside Sheriff Turner near the bridge entrance, while county inspectors photographed support beams and measured load stress. Ty Holloway drove past us twice that morning. Never stopped, never rolled down the window, but every pass got slower. "He knows we're tightening the timeline," Dale said. "Good." Dale adjusted his hat slightly. "You know what scared him most?" "What?" "The county seal on those inspection signs." He was right. Vanessa and Ty spent years pretending to be authority figures. Fake compliance notices, fake infrastructure control, fake enforcement language. Now real authority had finally arrived, and they couldn't bully it. At 2:15 that afternoon, Vanessa made her move. Claire called me from the ranch. She came here herself. I stopped walking immediately. "What did she do?" "She's sitting in our kitchen." That sentence landed harder than I expected. Vanessa Holloway had never stepped foot inside my ranch house before. People like her preferred fences, notices, and lawyers. Direct confrontation meant losing control of the performance. I'm coming home. No, Claire said calmly. Finish with Dale first. I knew that tone. Claire only used it when she already had the situation under control. What did she want? To negotiate. That almost made me laugh. 3 days earlier, she towed my truck during my daughter's wedding. Now she wanted negotiation. What exactly did she say? Claire lowered her voice. She said this has gone far enough. I looked across Mercer Bridge towards Silver Pines. The marina banners still hung beside the sales office down by the lake road. Luxury waterfront living, private access, exclusive ownership, all balanced on forged land rights. Put her on speaker, I said. A few seconds later, Vanessa's voice filled the call. Mr. Mercer, still polished, still controlled, but thinner now. You broke into my ranch house, I asked. Claire invited me inside. Interesting. Claire never invited weakness. She invited witnesses. I think we should discuss a reasonable solution, Vanessa said carefully. You mean before the state finishes reviewing your bridge filings? Silence. Then she tried on another angle. The marina investors are becoming anxious. There it was. Not the residents, not the HOA, the investors. That was the pressure point now. You should have thought about investor anxiety before towing my truck. That was an unfortunate escalation. I actually smiled at that. Unfortunate escalation. Like she accidentally spilled coffee instead of weaponizing an HOA against a ranch family. Dale watched my face while I listened. What do you want, Vanessa? A private meeting? No. Mr. Mercer, this situation could damage everyone involved. No, I answered evenly. It damages the people who forged county records. Another silence. Longer this time. Then she finally said the thing she'd been avoiding since Saturday morning. You knew about the bridge before the wedding. Yes. And you let the tow happen anyway. Yes. Her breathing changed slightly. Not fear exactly. Recognition. Vanessa Holloway was finally realizing she hadn't controlled the timeline at all. She'd walked herself into evidence. You used us, she said quietly. No, I replied. I documented you. The call ended immediately after that. Dale let out a slow whistle. She's cracking. She's cornered. By Thursday evening, Elise Navarro confirmed state investigators had recovered deleted financial records from Holloway infrastructure servers, kickback schedules, false maintenance invoices, private investor memos discussing easement normalization, and one particularly ugly spreadsheet listing projected annual towing revenue from HOA enforcement expansion across 3 counties. Nolan called it predatory monetization through manufactured compliance. Logan called it something simpler. Crooked. Friday morning arrived cold and still. At 5:30 a.m., 6 county vehicles assembled outside my ranch gate, beneath the cottonwoods. Sheriff deputies, state transportation investigators, county attorneys, infrastructure inspectors. Dale Turner handed me a dark county jacket with Mercer County Infrastructure Division stitched over the chest. First time I'd worn it publicly. You ready? He asked. I looked toward the lake once, before answering. The water sat black and quiet beneath the fading stars. Sadie's wedding lanterns still hung beside the shoreline from 6 nights earlier. Vanessa Holloway chose that morning to humiliate my family. Now Friday morning belonged to the county. I pulled the jacket on. Let's go. The convoy rolled north toward Holloway Ridge at exactly 6:02 a.m. Porch lights flicked on as we passed through Silver Pines. Curtains moved behind expensive windows. Residents stepped outside, holding coffee mugs, while county vehicles climbed the hill toward the largest house in the subdivision. Vanessa's stone entrance arch stood at the top of the drive with wrought iron letters reading, Holloway Ridge Estates. Sheriff Turner parked first, then the county SUVs, then Elise Navarro's state vehicle. Nobody spoke while we walked to the front door. The morning air carried only gravel crunching under boots. Dale knocked once. Inside movement. A light switched on. Then another. Finally, the door opened. Vanessa Holloway stood there in a cream robe, staring directly at the county badge clipped to my jacket. And for the first time since this started, she looked afraid, not angry, not offended, afraid. Vanessa Holloway's eyes moved from my county badge to the people standing behind me. Sheriff Turner, Elise Navarro, Nolan Pierce, 2 county inspectors carrying document cases, Real Authority standing on her front porch at sunrise. The same way she stood on mine 6 days earlier. Mrs. Holloway, Dale said evenly, "We need you and your husband to step outside." Ty appeared behind her wearing jeans and a wrinkled thermal shirt. The second he saw county jackets and sheriff deputies in his driveway, the color drained from his face. Vanessa recovered first. "This is harassment," she snapped. "I've already spoken with county administration." Nolan handed her a sealed packet. "This is a formal notice of infrastructure fraud investigation, authorized by Mercer County and the State Transportation Division." Elise stepped forward next. "And this," she said calmly, "is a preservation order preventing the destruction, transfer, or alteration of any records connected to Holloway Infrastructure, Silver Pines Estates, or the Mercer Lake Marina expansion project." Ty's shoulders dropped slightly at the word destruction. He knew they were late. Not too late, but late enough that he'd already tried cleaning things up. Vanessa opened the packet with shaking fingers. "You can't shut down a private development project over paperwork disputes." "No," I said quietly, "but forged county surveys help." Her eyes snapped toward me. That silence between us lasted maybe 3 seconds. Long enough for her to realize the man she humiliated during his daughter's wedding had spent the entire week building the case, now standing in her hands. Dale motioned toward the driveway. "County crews are moving on Mercer Bridge at noon pending ownership review." Ty took a step forward immediately. "You close that bridge and you trap 600 residents inside Silver Pines," Nolan answered before I could. "No, Mr. Holloway. You trapped them when you built development contracts on expired easements." That landed hard. Vanessa turned toward Ty for the first time since we arrived. "You told me the filings were covered." Ty didn't answer, which was answer enough. A county inspector behind me opened another folder. "Mrs. Holloway, we also have notice of suspended enforcement authority for Silver Pines HOA pending audit review." "What does that mean?" she demanded. "It means every compliance notice issued under your administration is now under legal examination." Behind us, porch lights flicked on across Holloway Ridge. Neighbors were watching now, coffee mugs in hand, whispering, because power looks different when deputies stand beside it. Vanessa noticed them too, and suddenly the performance mattered again. "This is politically motivated," she announced loudly enough for the neighbors to hear. "Mr. Mercer has abused his position." Elise cut her off cold. "We recovered your investor meeting recordings. That stopped everything." Even the bird sounded quieter. Ty looked at Vanessa. Vanessa looked at Ty. Neither spoke. Elise opened a tablet and played the audio directly from the porch speaker. "Get the truck off his property, force him into a compliance hearing, and keep him occupied until the filing clears." Vanessa's own voice echoed across Holloway Ridge. A curtain closed somewhere nearby. One neighbor quietly stepped back inside their house. Not because they supported her, because they finally understood what she was. Ty tried one last move. "You recorded private business meetings?" "No," Elise replied. "One of your investors voluntarily surrendered evidence after learning they were attached to fraudulent infrastructure claims." Nolan handed Ty another document. "This is notice of civil exposure from an investor withdrawal damages tied to falsified access representations." Ty stared at the page, then at me. All week he'd carried himself like a man who still believed he could intimidate a rancher into backing down. That look was gone now. Sheriff Turner adjusted his gloves slowly. "Mr. Holloway, county deputies are currently executing a search warrant at your contractor yard." Ty blinked hard. "What?" Investigators recovered altered survey stakes from Mercer Bridge Tuesday night. Dale's voice stayed flat. We'd also like to discuss the forged Walter Grinnell filings. Vanessa grabbed Ty's arm. Tell them you didn't file those. He stayed silent again. And silence finally betrayed them harder than any document. At exactly 11:47 a.m., county crews closed Mercer Bridge. Steel barricades locked into place across the entrance, while state engineers photographed support structures and verified deed boundaries. Sheriff deputies redirected traffic away from the crossing while Silver Pines residents gathered along the roadside in growing panic. By 1:15, marina investors formally suspended all project funding. By 2, Holloway Infrastructure's bank accounts were frozen under emergency fraud review. By 3:40, deputies recovered burned document fragments from a metal barrel behind Ty's contractor yard. And by sunset, the story hit local news. Mercer County investigates alleged HOA infrastructure fraud. The camera crews arrived fast after that. Vanessa hated cameras when she couldn't control the angle. I stood beside the closed bridge at dusk while reporters filmed the barricades and long lines of black SUVs backed up outside Silver Pines. My cattle moved calmly through the lower pasture behind the creek. No panic, no performance, just land doing what land always does when people stop lying about who owns it. Claire walked up beside me carrying 2 coffees. You finally stopped moving, she said softly. For a minute, she handed me the cup. Across the creek, Vanessa Holloway stood near the barricade, arguing with a county attorney while residents surrounded her demanding answers. Nobody listened to her anymore. That was the real collapse. Not the bridge, not the marina authority. Claire watched the scene quietly. Do you regret letting them tow the truck? I looked toward Mercer Lake where Sadie's wedding lanterns still hung beside the shoreline. No, I answered, because 6 days earlier, Vanessa Holloway thought she was towing a rancher's work truck. What she actually towed was the first piece of evidence in the case that destroyed her entire operation. And deep down, I think she finally understood that too. The arrests came 3 weeks later, not dramatic, not loud, no helicopters, no television chase scenes. Just paperwork, sealed indictments, and deputies showing up with folders thick enough to ruin lives. Ty Holloway was arrested first outside the contractor yard off Route 16, while trying to move equipment under a temporary shell company name. Investigators recovered deleted accounting drives, forged permit templates, and 6 separate survey revisions connected to Mercer Bridge. Vanessa lasted another 48 hours before the state filed conspiracy and fraud charges tied to the Marina Investment Group. By then, Silver Pines had already turned on her. That part happened faster than the criminal case. Residents who once defended every HOA fine suddenly wanted refunds, explanations, and attorneys. 3 former board members testified that Vanessa personally ordered enforcement actions against homeowners who questioned bridge assessments or towing fees. Miriam Cole handed over another binder, then another. Turns out, retired librarians make terrifying witnesses when they spend 3 years documenting everything. By October, the State Transportation Review officially confirmed what my grandfather always knew. Mercer Bridge had never legally transferred out of Mercer family ownership. Every commercial development filing connected to the Marina project collapsed immediately after that ruling. $42 million gone on paper in under a week. The investors sued Holloway Infrastructure before the county even finished processing evidence inventories. Nolan Pierce called me the morning the civil rulings landed. You sitting down? I'm feeding cattle. Good enough. I heard papers shifting. State court approved emergency restitution proceedings. How bad for them? Bad enough that Ty's company won't exist by Christmas. I looked across the valley toward the closed marina construction site. Half-built retaining walls sat abandoned near the shoreline like bones sticking out of the dirt. "What happens to Silver Pines?" I asked. "Depends whether the residents want a neighborhood or a dictatorship with landscaping rules." Fair point. The HOA emergency election happened 2 weeks later inside the Silver Pines clubhouse. Miriam Cole won by unanimous vote. Nobody even ran against her. Her first official action as interim HOA president was simple. She dissolved the Vehicle Enforcement Committee completely. Her second action mattered more. Every towing contract tied to Holloway infrastructure was terminated effective immediately. And her third action surprised almost everybody except me. She drove to the ranch, herself carrying a typed proposal for a brand new bridge easement agreement. Transparent terms, public oversight, emergency access only, no development authority, no private marina expansion rights, no HOA enforcement powers connected to Mercer land. Claire read the proposal at our kitchen table, while Miriam waited quietly with coffee in her hands. Finally, Claire looked at me. "Well," I studied the document another minute. Then I signed it. Not for Vanessa, not for the developers, for the families who bought homes out there, believing somebody else had handled things honestly. Miriam folded the signed agreement carefully. "You know," she said softly, "most people would shut the bridge permanently after all this." I looked out the kitchen window toward Mercer Lake. "No," I answered. "Most people around here still need to get home at night." That was the difference. Vanessa Holloway saw land as leverage. Ranch people see land as responsibility. Winter came early that year. By December, snow covered the lower fence lines and iced the lake edges silver at sunrise. Logan expanded the woodworking shop behind the equipment barn, using money from 3 custom wedding arch orders that came in after guests posted photos from Sadie's ceremony online. Turns out people liked cedar arches built by stubborn ranch hands under pressure. Sadie and her husband visited every Sunday after church. Claire finally stopped checking county filings before breakfast. Sheriff Turner stopped by often enough that Logan started leaving coffee ready in the workshop automatically. Life settled again. Not perfectly, but honestly. One evening near Christmas, I drove down to Mercer Bridge alone. County crews had removed the barricades weeks earlier after final ownership review closed. New signs stood at both entrances now. Mercer Bridge Emergency Shared Access by County Easement Agreement. Simple. Legal, clean. The way it should been from the beginning. I stood beside the rail while creek water moved beneath the steel beams my grandfather helped anchor 50 years earlier. That bridge survived floods, droughts, blizzards, and now developers too. A truck pulled up quietly behind me. Dale Turner stepped out holding 2 paper coffee cups. "You know," he said, handing me one, "most men would have lost their temper somewhere around the wedding tow." I thought about it. "But you didn't." I looked across the dark valley towards Silver Pines where Christmas lights glowed softly through the trees. "No," I said, "because angry men make mistakes." Dale nodded slowly. "And patient men build cases." Exactly. The final sentencing happened in February. Ty Holloway lost his contractor's license permanently and received prison time for fraud, forgery, and infrastructure tampering. Vanessa accepted a plea deal tied to conspiracy, unlawful enrichment, and falsified HOA enforcement actions across multiple counties. The judge's closing statement ended up quoted in newspapers all over Montana. Property law exists to protect citizens, not intimidate them. Claire clipped that article and pinned it beside the ranch office desk. Every May now, our family hosts a community dinner beside Mercer Lake, on the same shoreline where Sadie got married. Long cedar tables stretch beneath lanterns, while kids run through the grass, and neighbors bring food from both sides of the valley. Silver Pines residents come too. Most of them are good people. They just trusted the wrong voices. Late one evening after the second annual dinner, I walked back toward the ranch house, while the lanterns reflected softly across the lake water. The old cedar sign still stood beside the gate, exactly where my grandfather put it decades ago. Same carved words, same weathered wood. Land remembers who protects it. After everything that happened, I think he was right.
Sometimes the biggest mistake a person can make is believing nobody will slow down long enough to check the paperwork, ask the hard question, or stand around when things stop feel right. What I learned through all this is that patience matters more than pride. If I had reacted out of anger the morning they told my church, I probably would lose sight of what really needed protecting my family, my land, and the truth sitting quiet inside those old culty records. Land has a way of teaching people that. So do small towns. Folks remember who act with fairness, who keep their word, and who stay steady when pressure shows up at the gate. In the end, the bridge stayed open, the ranch stayed standing, and the people who simply wanted an honest place to live finally got that chance. If you ever deal with an HOA, a property dispute, or somebody trying to push you around with the paperwork or pressure, probably yes down in these comments. I read more of those stories than you probably realize. And a lot of folks out there know exactly what that kind of fights feel like. And if you enjoyed this story about ranch flight, quiet perseverance, and ordinary people standing from the right way, go ahead and subscribe. There's always another story waiting somewhere down the next dirt road.